Happy African History Month. Uh, Welcome to the 11th day of the month. It's February 11th, 2018. And do you know what historical significance today's date holds? Today is the day, 28 years ago, that Nelson Mandela was released from prison after 27 years of confinement. Yes. The interesting thing is, this happened during our lifetime. So during my lifetime, I witnessed one of the last overt systems of government-imposed white supremacy. Trying to hold on, and I witnessed it fall. The system of apartheid, where blacks in South Africa were denied basic rights and privileges that the whites within the country enjoyed. And it struck me as interesting that despite the fact that South Africa's so blatantly, overtly racist system, in about 2008, 2007, what it was, when Obama was elected president, and people said, "Oh, only in America could we have, a black president." And I'm like, wait a minute. I remember in my lifetime, a country that was more overtly racist and oppressive actually had a black president first. So hold up. Don't go patting yourselves on the back just yet. There's you're way behind the curve. But yeah, just wanted to get into it briefly, quickly. For those of you who don't know some of the details about Nelson Mandela, we witnessed a lot, but we didn't know what was going on up till that point. What was apartheid? It was a government officially sanctioned and enforced system of segregation from non-whites being removed from their homes and forced into certain neighborhoods, to the state actually stripping non-whites of political representation, stripping blacks of their citizenship, being provided inferior education, inferior medical care, and other services. Nelson Mandela, and actually Nelson isn't his actual name. I remember the story of him going to school, telling the teacher his actual name, and she's like, "Yeah, that's too difficult for me to pronounce. Your name is Nelson now." It boggles the mind, but this is really what happened. Nelson Mandela was part of the ANC, the African National Congress, and they were, fighting against this, system of apartheid. Advocated for boycott strikes, which met from backlash from the government, and they actually started, to fight back with more approaches that they felt would be more effective in achieving results. And Nelson himself actually realized or started to consider that and armed and violent resistance would be the only way to successfully end apartheid. And he formed a militant wing of the ANC and began acts of sabotage against the government that was supposed to, that was strategically aimed not to kill people. They bombed military installation, power plants, telephone lines, when civilians weren't around. He was eventually arrested, and him and his co-defendants used the trial to shed light on the anti-apartheid movement. And he opened his proceedings of his trial with a 3-hour speech, which is widely considered one of his greatest speeches. They were sentenced to life imprisonment, and he continued to correspond with people like Desmond Tutu, and gained worldwide attention during his incarceration to the injustices of apartheid. And it was pressure from other nations that ultimately forced South Africa to release him after 27 years. And even after he was released, there was still a lot of work that needed to be done. And on May 10th, 1994, Nelson Mandela was actually inaugurated as South Africa's first black president. And this is it's an amazing story. From prison to president, Nelson Mandela actually fought. That's how hard he fought. That's how long he fought. And I think that's a story that has really a personal significance to me, that the fight can continue, and does continue, regardless of past status, that seeing injustices up close and personal actually gives you put the perspective and puts you in a position to have the motivation to fight even harder after going through something like that. Thank you for joining me today for that brief talk about Nelson Mandela, and I will see you tomorrow. Happy African History Month.